Most of you know from your college days, and if they're like mine, they were long ago, that it is pretty expensive to tour with a large group like this. So leaders and organizers are always looking for ways to defray expenses of their trip. And a couple of the ways that they do that is they get the local folks to bring covered dish dinners so that the guys can come in and eat the wonderful food that the local people fix. And tonight, our folks here did that for these gentlemen. And we want to thank everybody who brought food for their wonderful dinner this evening. We thank Helen Odom and Betty Coggins for heading up, organizing all the food and getting it here. The other thing that they look for is housing. And so not only did we provide food this evening, but we have some wonderful members of our congregation who have volunteered to house these young men tonight before they take off for Charleston tomorrow. So we want to thank them, and we want to thank Lynn Allman for heading up the organizing of the housing effort also. Thank you for all that are housing these men. I think the turnout here tonight has to do with some of the wonderful publicity that one of our members, talented members here at church did, and that is Ralph Benoit. He put posters together, sent out public service announcements, talked to folks at some of the media outlets, and we really appreciate Ralph's talents. And I dare say that usually when groups come to, I'm going to say, a rural area like ours, it is most of the time because of a connection that's there in that rural area. And indeed, we have a connection here at Shalott Presbyterian, which instigated these gentlemen being here this evening. We thank Steve and Debbie Wingfield for being that conduit to get them here. One of Steve and Debbie's sons performed in the Virginia Glee Club back when he was in college. And so that is how that connection was made. We thank you, Steve and Debbie, for helping us out with that. There are a couple business items that I need to cover. And as I said, the folks are always looking for ways to defray the expenses of their tours, and we're going to invite you tonight to participate in a love offering when you leave. There's not going to be an intermission this evening, so as you leave, you'll see some of these guys with their great, wonderful eyes there staring at you with their buckets, which has Virginia on them, by the way, and they will. I hope you will be very, very generous and show them your support for what they've done here this evening. Also, if you are housing some of the Glee Club members, we ask that after the concert, you find your way back into the church fellowship hall, and that is when we will pair you up with the gentlemen that are going with you tonight. Okay, so back in the fellowship hall following the concert. Give us time to collect some money and sell some CDs. They're also going to be selling CDs out there too. So pick up a few of those. Now, I believe at this moment there is a lot more Glee in the Glee Club. The University of Virginia men's basketball team just won the ACC regular season championship. Unfortunately for some of us, they beat North Carolina, they beat Duke, and they beat NC State this year. They are the number 1 seed in the ACC tournament, which started today, and they are ranked the number 1 team in the country going into the NCAA tournament. even with all of that, we're still glad, very, very glad that you are here. And we are honored to be the host of your concert this evening. So, at the end of our concert, John Causey, our pastor, will come forward and pronounce a benediction and give the gentlemen a sending prayer as they go off on the remainder of their trip. And I understand tomorrow is the fun day, so they'll probably need, the organizers and leaders will probably need their prayers. I hope you had time as you came in and then you sat down to look at the program and read the information about the Glee Club. It is an amazing organization with a fabulous history. They have a tremendously talented conductor, Frank Allbinder, and I know that they are going to entertain you and give you a wonderful evening. So without further ado, Frank.
Thank you so much. We are delighted to be here in Charlotte, and I won't thank all the people that Barry already thanked because he pretty much covered it. But it's nice to see some familiar faces in the audience, and we look forward to visiting with you after the concert tonight. We started with an African welcome song, and it's in Swahili, but it really just means howdy do, so it's sort of a good song to begin our program with. We did not know, however, that you would be in mourning when we got here because of sports ball. So I don't follow sports ball, but yesterday we sang in the vast metropolis that is Chapel Hill. And nobody mentioned it, so it must mean more to you when you live in slightly rural areas, as Barry said. We're going to sing a lot of different kinds of music tonight, and I'm going to be your running program notes, so you can just do what my students do when I get boring and listen, but hear wah, 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 because that's all they ever hear me say, as is evidenced by the fact, well, I'll tell you stories afterwards. We're going to sing a piece now from the Russian sacred liturgy. This is an unusual piece that was popular with men's choruses about 100 years ago. Russians chanted the way the early Christian church singers chanted, but in a very different style. And it was usually a call and response chant, with a soloist followed by other men in the choir singing what the soloist had sung. This is a written out chant, and it's in Old Church Slavonic, so if you're not fluent in that, I will give you the text. The text is Gospodi pomiluj. That's it. And it means, Lord have mercy. But we sing it more than once, as you will hear. So people always ask where we breathe in that, and the truth is we don't. It's a secret Glee Club thing. We'll initiate you afterwards if you're interested. We're going to sing another sacred piece that actually has some rests, and so there will be opportunities to breathe. This is by a living composer named Ola Yelo. He's Norwegian, but makes his home in New York City, and burst onto the scene more than 10 years ago with this piece, Ubi Caritas. The text is in Latin, but where charity is, there is God. It's the same title and text of a famous motet by a French composer named Maurice Duruflé. Lots of people in choirs sing that piece. This is a worthy addition to the repertoire, though it was originally written for a mixed choir. That means a choir with sopranos, altos, tenors, and basses, but we don't need sopranos and altos. And fortunately, the composer rearranged it for low voices only, and we think, of course, that's the way he should have written it in the first place.